My wife and I are escaping the city and heading into the mountains outside Chongqing in southwestern China. When most people think of Chongqing, they picture skyscrapers, highways, and millions of residents, but we're about to discover where locals go when they want to escape the heat and noise of the urban metropolis. It's quiet, rural, and stunning, and the kind of hidden destination that many Western visitors miss in their rush to see China's more famous attractions. So, join us and the dogs as we load up the car and set off on a road trip for a 2-night stay at one of China's burgeoning rural weekend retreats. Incredible scenery, treehouse-style cabins, and lots of delicious food, with plenty of surprises along the way. Let's go! So as we depart Chongqing, let's take a closer look at our destination. We're headed to the Jinfo Mountain Tourist Area, around 120 kilometers from the city. The drive itself should take us just under 2 hours, but despite the name, Jinfo Mountain isn't just a single peak. It's a vast mountain landscape covering more than 440 square kilometers with towering cliffs, forests, caves, and some of the highest peaks in the region. Getting out of Chongqing isn't always straightforward. Built among steep hills and river valleys, the city is famous for its complex network of roads, bridges, and tunnels. But once you're out of the urban core, modern expressways make reaching the surrounding countryside surprisingly easy. Unlike in the UK, drivers in China pay to use the country's vast network of expressways through toll stations like this one. To be honest though, most of them aren't nearly this interesting to look at. Most drivers pay using WeChat or Alipay, although regular users can get an electronic pass that lets them cruise straight through without stopping. We took a quick pit stop at Dagwan service station. Chinese service stations are very similar to those in the UK, offering restrooms, fuel, convenience stores, and a decent range of places to eat. Though, as I discovered in my Chengdu train video, I'm once again saddened to report a distinct lack of Burger King. By now, we were approaching the Jinfo Mountain Scenic Area, and as we turned off the main expressway, the first major peaks began rising on the horizon to meet us. Famous for its ancient forests, unusual rock formations, and cooler mountain climate, the region has become one of the most popular short break destinations in the Chongqing municipality. It's not hard to see the appeal. Within just a couple of hours, the highways and skyscrapers of Chongqing city have been replaced by forests, mountain roads, and some spectacular scenery. The final stretch of the climb up to our resort reminded me somewhat of a Tour de France mountain stage, with tight hairpin bends and rustic country-style buildings dotting the roadside. We were travelling midweek and thankfully had the road almost entirely to ourselves. Such was Evelyn's excitement to reach our destination that she overshot the main entrance, though recovered this with an excellent manoeuvre. So welcome to Songyin森林民宿, which translates as Songyin Forest Guest House. As you wander along the gravel track towards the reception, you get an instant sense of what this place is all about, if the name didn't already give it away. A collection of forest cabins perched on the side of one of those mountains we saw from the car earlier. My early impressions were that the designers had worked hard to strike a balance between simple rustic charm and a more upmarket feel. You'll get a much better sense of that once we take a look inside the room. One criticism I've often heard from Western friends visiting China is that tourist destinations here can sometimes feel a little too manicured. But as you can probably see from the footage here, I think the balance is about right. The resort feels carefully maintained without losing its connection to the natural surroundings. I'm not 100% sure how I'd describe the exterior design of the guest accommodation, but I'm going to go with Nordic Treehouse. Please let me know in the comments how wrong that is. The resort has around 20 cabins, which come in 3 different sizes. The smallest measures 28 square meters, while 40 square meter split level cabins are also available. There's also a 52 square meter split level cabin, which is the one we decided to book. They all come complete with free Wi-Fi, a private bathroom, and air conditioning, an absolute must-have during Chongqing's notoriously hot and humid summers. I wouldn't describe the room as luxurious in the traditional sense, but that's not really what this place is aiming for. Instead, it feels comfortable, thoughtfully designed, and perfectly suited to its forest surroundings. The extensive use of wood gives the cabin a warm, cosy feel, while the large windows and balcony ensure that nature remains the star of the show. By the way, you have to bring your own dog. One omission that my Western sensibilities immediately picked up on was the lack of a fridge. In fairness, most guests are only staying for a short break and chilled drinks are available from the reception, so it's not really considered an essential feature. However, from a Western point of view, I was pleased to discover that the bathroom did come equipped with a Buck Rogers toilet. When you visit places like this, the dining options are often a little limited, and there almost certainly won't be a Western menu in sight. However, each cabin comes with its own outdoor dining area and barbecue, where tonight an absolute feast was served. On the menu were beefsteak, sliced pork, chicken wings, shrimp, tofu, and something that looked for all the world like potato, but actually turned out to be something entirely different. Even Evelyn wasn't able to identify it. The idea is to coat everything in chili seasoning before wrapping it in fresh lettuce leaves. No floury burger buns here, I'm afraid. And now a quick word from the maker of this video. That's me, by the way. At the time of recording, I have only 54 subscribers. In fact, I took a bus today that had more people on it. As we're now at 8 minutes or so into this video, I'm assuming you must be enjoying it on some level. If not, you've displayed an admirable level of commitment. Seriously though, if this is the kind of content you enjoy, I'd really appreciate you subscribing. I've got plenty more trips planned in the near future. And if subscribing feels like too much of a commitment at this stage in our relationship, then a like, comment, or any other form of encouragement will be massively appreciated. Right, that's enough of that. Back to the video. My post-barbecue evening stroll took me to this glass floor viewing platform. I'd seen a YouTube video of one of these things breaking the other week. I'll assume it was AI. So it was with some very tentative steps that I ventured out onto it. Thankfully, the glass held firm. From the platform, there were sweeping views across the valley, with mountains stretching off into the distance, and the lights of a few scattered villages beginning to appear below. There were also some distant views of a high-speed rail construction project which, while perhaps not quite as picturesque, did give me something else to point the camera at. All rooms came with a complimentary breakfast delivered directly to your cabin anytime between 7 and 10 AM. Ours consisted of noodles, sweet mantou, dumplings and eggs, accompanied by a side of pickled vegetables. It was more carbs than I'd seen on a single plate for quite some time, but hey-ho, we were on holiday. One feature of the resort I wasn't expecting was the number of unusual rock formations dotted around the grounds. Jinfo Mountain sits within a karst landscape. The the same type of geology responsible for famous scenery in places like Vietnam, Slovenia, and parts of the US. As for exactly how these particular rocks ended up looking like this, that's probably a question for a geologist rather than a bloke on holiday with a camera. I've been thinking long and hard about how to summarise my feelings on this place, mainly because it would be unfair to judge certain aspects of the experience purely through a Western perspective. For example, the lack of a fridge in the room, the limited dining options, and the fact that the staff spoke very little English. These are all things that might matter to some foreign visitors, but are largely irrelevant to the average Chinese tourist. With that in mind, I'll keep my final verdict, now appearing on screen, a little more generalised. Overall, this is an experience I would certainly recommend. In fact, Evelyn and I are already talking about bringing the dogs back here to play in the snow during the winter months. Let us know in the comments if that's something you'd like to see. That's all for this video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
哥哥去哪？